Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching this from. My name is Casey Willis, and I am a 2023 Goodie Nation Storytelling Fellow and the founder of Could Be Pretty Cool, a podcast production company that makes podcasts about arts and culture. And today I am here hosting another amazing episode of Prequel, Origin Stories and Inflection Points, where I have the opportunity to talk to some incredible founders in our Goodie Nation community. Now, for those of you who don't know or who are new to Goodie, Goodie Nation exists as an organization to help bridge the relationship gap for promising founders from diverse backgrounds who work in the social entrepreneurship sphere. These are often founders who may not have the connections that they need to continue to push and grow their businesses. And so we are a community of founders, mentors, coaches, fellows, folks who work together to help entrepreneurs succeed in every way possible. And so this episode is actually the first of a series of episodes where we'll be introducing you to our Google for Startups founders. It's an amazing program that partners with us and allows us to just meet some of the most incredible, innovative founders and companies from around the country and around the world, really. And I am very excited to kick this off today with our friend Calvin. And Calvin is going to tell you a little bit more about what inspired him to start his company, start his business, and it's going to be great. So, Calvin, take it away.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. And yeah, I think my story is one that is probably familiar to a lot of entrepreneurs. I started early. My parents gave me sort of the room to do creative things when I was younger, all centered around trying to make a little bit of cash. So I had a lemonade stand. I cut grass with my grandfather. I had little chores around the house, just trying to make a little extra change, and really got sort of bit with the entrepreneurship bug when I was young. And as I grew up and got older, as I got into high school, that sort of switched to sports, focusing on that, and kind of lost the passion for entrepreneurship as I was becoming more passionate about sports. And as we all know, it's tough to become a professional athlete. So when that wasn't looking good for my future, ended up going to college and really got bit by the entrepreneurship bug again in college. I went to Mississippi State University and got connected to the entrepreneurship center there at the school. And it really opened my eyes to the possibilities of building your own business and becoming your own boss. And that was something that I really was drawn to. And I started out just hacking away at several different ideas, met up with some like-minded entrepreneurs in the Entrepreneurship Center there on campus, and actually started my first clothing brand my sophomore year of college, sophomore or junior year, getting times mixed up, but junior year of college, and tried various marketing strategies. I didn't know what I didn't know about it. And it was a struggle for the first few months, but ultimately ended up working with influencers to start promoting those brands, and got some really cool contacts, and they helped me promote those brands. And from there, it kind of just was a snowball effect. Ended up scaling those brands to over six figures in revenue. And there was a problem with it. It was the influencer marketing was really difficult to sort of maintain. And as you're trying to focus on business, influencer marketing can become a business all to itself. So I looked to build a platform, and that platform was Buzzbassador. And of course, I can dive deeper into that, but that was sort of my entrepreneurial journey and what led me to building what I've built today.
Fantastic. So may I ask, you started off in sports, moved into entrepreneurship. Are there any connections between your athlete mind and your entrepreneurship mind?
I'd like to think so. So being an athlete, you have to persevere through a lot. my high school coaches were tough. So there was no room for skipping out or showing weakness. So you had to really kind of toughen up and do the task at hand. And sometimes entrepreneurship is that. It's being able to go sort of full steam ahead and complete the objective. And so I think sports kind of correlate in that regard, but also being in a team environment correlates in that regard as well. Having teammates versus having employees or co-founders. There's a lot of similarities. You have to be a leader in some points. You have to listen and be a follower in other points. And so, I think it all sports plays. The sports mindset plays a role in the entrepreneurship mindset as well.
Very nice. So, Calvin, how can people learn more about you if they wanted to connect with you or ask you any questions?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter. I have my handle in my bio here, but can definitely contact me. Like I said, Buzzbassador is the company that I built. It's a B2B SaaS platform. We help brands like Black and Green, Shimano, Gatsby Chocolate streamline their creator discovery. So if you need help with discovering influencers, onboarding them, tracking them, giving them campaigns, we help facilitate that. And I'm willing to help in any way I can.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Calvin. And I guess to stick with the sports thing for a minute, I'm going to pass the ball. I'm sorry, everybody. To Min. Min, why don't you tell us your origin story?
Yes, thank you for having me. I actually did not want to be an entrepreneur for over 20 years. As a child of immigrants, my parents immigrated from China to Panama when I was 4 years old. And the only way for them to work was actually to have their own business because language barriers and legal issues, they were not employable in Panama. And so they started their business. I, as the elder child, I started helping my parents since I was very, very young. And during family meals, all we talked about was the challenges of having their own business, like customers or employees and so forth. So I grew up learning that being a founder wasn't something glamorous as a lot of people would think. It is a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice, even beyond a personal level, even to the family level. So my dream in life was actually to get a good job in a multinational company, travel the world, have stock options, and that's it. I will be happy. And when I got that at 23 years old, I was miserable. And that's when I realized that all I wanted wasn't actually what made me happy. And fortunately, around the same time, my other dream that I have been working on since I was a teenager, which was to get a Fulbright scholarship to get a master's degree in the United States. I was in Panama back then. It also came true, and I was accepted in my first choice, which was Carnegie Mellon for a computer science degree in grad school. So I went to grad school 2 years in Pittsburgh. Because I had the Fulbright scholarship, I had the commitment to go back to Panama for 2 years. And by then I was already working for a company in Silicon Valley, traveling the world. And so I started looking what was available in Panama, and I didn't like any of the job offers that were out there. All I see was what I previously had, which I didn't like. So I said, well, now that I know how to build software better and being in really complex global projects, maybe I can help other companies do the same. So I started my previous company, a consulting firm in digital transformation. And I said, it is only 2 years of commitment. If I don't like it, after 2 years, I can close the company and go back to my previous job, which was among all the jobs I had, the ones that I liked the most. And my boss already said that I was welcome back. And I had that company for 12 years before starting my current company, Wisy. So the more I spend, the more I do as a founder, the more I realize I was actually born to be a founder, because I can have more control of my future, of my life. if there is anything I don't like in the world, I can try to change it as through my company as an example, or as our company culture, or even like in what we do. At Wisy, we believe in sustainability, in inclusion, in diversity, in efficiency, and we are building AI solutions to help one of the most important industries in the world, which is the consumer packaged good industry that feeds us, dresses us, and provides so many goods every day, but also is the one that creates a lot of contamination. So yes, that's fast forward 20 years later, I am enjoying the life of a founder and enjoying the roller coasters, the ups and downs, because I realized I not only chose to do this when my dream came true and I wasn't happy, but that I was also born to do this.
That's really powerful what you just said. I'm struck by how you said you enjoy being a founder because if something's not going right or something, you have the power to change it. And I guess the flip side to that, are there times when having that power, being the one who is responsible for your entity, for your people, is that ever something that is challenging or scary? And how do you overcome that?
Oh, definitely. It has taken me a second company to start learning that I actually enjoy the roller coaster, because there were days that I was like, why did I choose to do this? It's so hard. You get rejection everywhere. I can just get a job like my classmates in CMU who are already vice presidents in one of the largest companies in the world, and why am I doing this? And then the following day, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know why I'm doing this. I don't think I can stand a day working for another company. So I have learned to that the reason I'm having the ups and downs is because I chose this path. Is because the other path that I actually experienced and thought that was going to make me happy didn't make me happy. And that a startup is a roller coaster. Like if we are not trying hard enough, we will not fail. We will not learn anything. And those ups, of course, are really incredible, but the downs are actually lessons, like realizations as well, or results of experiments that we do, and we just have to see as when we go down, we are getting momentum to go even higher the next day. So learning to enjoy that has made me a lot happier, a lot more productive, optimistic, and also be more capable of dealing with the new ups and downs, even higher, even deeper, that are coming, because that's what we look for, right? We look forward to grow our company, grow our team, make a change in the world, and that comes with a lot of ups and downs.
Learning how to be optimistic about the ups and downs. That's a word right there. So Mint, how can people find out more about you?
Yes, I am very reachable on any social media platform, but I'm more responsive on LinkedIn. So just look for me, Min Chen, at Wisy, and the website of the company as well is wisy.ai. And Wisy means wise and easy AI that we help create for the brands that we buy and love every day.
Nice. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And now we would love to hear from Madison. Madison, what is your origin story?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me, Casey. Hi, everyone. My name is Madison Long. I'm the CEO and founder of Clutch. At Clutch, we're focused on empowering the next generation. And part of my origin story and being able to do that started when I was really young. I always had a passion for being able to reach back to those just, a few years before me. And whether that's mentoring or having math programs in high school to help middle schoolers who might be falling behind. I've always been very intentional about helping those that might be a few steps behind you really be able to see their full potential. And so when I first started Clutch, that North Star was a huge driving focal point. We initially wanted to begin on college campuses to be able to talk to young people who have a true passion for side hustles, for the creative work that they can do from the comfort of their dorm, and make sure that they had opportunities to thrive and be successful in ways that were empowering and really thought of their needs. And as we've really evolved into what Clutch is, we're still able to do that. We work in the creator economy where there's a lot of exploitation that happens, to be honest. There's a lot of really young creative people who are hungry and want to get out there and get paid 90 days after they do things, have to, work well below their actual rate because they don't really understand how to negotiate with big corporations. And with Clutch, we take out all that friction. And so it's been something that as we've pivoted, as we've refactored, our actual product, we've always kept these young, creative, very green minds at the center of how we're designing and building. And I think that was really ingrained in me as a child. My dad's an entrepreneur, and he works kind of on the other side where I'm talking about young people, next generation. He actually works with the elderly population in the home care space. And I always just really admired the way that he took risks and really wanted to make sure that the people he was serving were always at the core of what he's doing, not just the profits, not just expansion or anything like that, but actually making sure that people are being cared for. And that's where his success came from. And I feel the same way for mine. As long as I know that we're actually making an impact on these people's lives, no matter how much I fundraise, no matter how much revenue we make in a year, I know that my success it can't be taken away from me because we've actually made some real impact and work there.
That's such a lovely generational, bridge of your father being an entrepreneur, working with our older populations, you working with the younger folks. And I'm curious for you, for anyone who is maybe younger and is thinking about either starting a business or becoming someone who is a part of the creator economy and becoming a brand, what would your advice to them be?
Yeah, I think the first thing is just start. I think there's a lot of hiccups to be able to take that first step. So whether that's going out and starting your own business or wanting to do some freelance work, I think there's a lot of emphasis on having everything mapped out and it all being perfect and the brand story and maybe even the name all being cohesive before you even tell your first person. And I think that's a huge fallacy. I think that really impedes the ability for great ideas to get out there because you will stumble and fall. We're on our third name at Clutch since starting this. If I was worried about, embarrassing myself and people being like, what happened to the old name that was too hard to spell and really long? I'd be like, who cares? Because that's not actually the point. The point is to be able to get out there and fail quickly, see what works, see what feels good, and see if it's for you. And that only starts by actually taking that step to put yourself out there.
Amazing stuff. So Madison, how did the folks watching this and listening to this find out more about you?
Yeah, so if you're compelled as a creator to potentially get some really meaningful work, check us out at that'sclutch.com. We partner up with marketing agencies and large media companies that are looking to generate new lines of revenue by being able to have creators as a service within their business models. So yeah, feel free to check us out there.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Madison, for sharing your story. And next, we will hear from Leslie. Why don't you tell all the folks all over the world your origin story?
Hi, thanks, Casey, and thanks for having me. Yeah, so my journey into entrepreneurship started more as I would say a survival means. So I was born and raised in Cameroon. I grew up as a pretty normal kid, just going to school and hoping to graduate someday and have a great career. So, but unfortunately, when I graduated high school, I lost my mom, and so even though I was top of my class, I couldn't afford to go to college. So I started, venturing into various entrepreneurship ventures in order to survive and help to, take care of my my younger siblings. And so, for 8 years, I did so many different things, ventured into so many entrepreneurship uh, things, and just to raise enough money and survive, pay for everyday stuff. And thankfully by 2010 I had saved enough money, and I wanted to go back to school and complete my dream, finish my dream as a get a good career, graduate, get a good career. So I had saved enough money that could pay my way to school, and I applied and got admissions and moved to the US. And so since 2010 I've been going to school, in what feels like now it feels like forever. I ended up having my doctor of pharmacy degree and my MBA, and graduated as a pharmacist. Worked at CVS for a couple of years, and it I love my job. I loved interacting with the patients. I loved going into work every day. But I felt like I could do more. I felt like I had the potential to do more, and so I went back to school. And I decided to go back to school. I ended up at Yale School of Public Health, where I was focusing on public health. My main focus was on public health entrepreneurship. And so while I was there, as a student, I was still working part-time as a pharmacist at CVS when the pandemic hit. And I saw an increase in prescription abandonment, especially among seniors and immunocompromised, right? People were that demographic that wasn't coming to the pharmacy to pick up their prescriptions for obvious reasons. And so we started Pills. To me, it was more of a project just to help that those patients have easy access to essential medications while maintaining social distancing. And so I talked to some of my professors and mentors at Yale at the time, and we the initial delivery people, they were all volunteers, mostly students and faculty that signed up to help these vulnerable population get their medications. And as we started helping these people, news began to spread, and we got interviewed on NBC Connecticut, Yale Daily News, and all of that, and started getting a ton of traction. And we started getting inbound from people who were calling us and saying, "Hey, I've heard about this service. I'd love to use it. I'm not senior, I'm not immunocompromised, but sounds like something I would love to use." And so we went into work. That entrepreneurship spirit in me kicked in, and we went into work, did a ton of market research, and we saw a huge opportunity, right? And what a lot of people don't know is about 30% of prescriptions filled in pharmacies across the US every day are not picked up. And one of the primary reasons is just access to pharmacy. And when you start looking into the various social determinants of health, then you start seeing a lot why people are not picking it up. So we decided to build this out now into a full-fledged startup and build out our technologies to kind of automate the process and make it easier, because in the beginning it was all manual. Like we had a website, people put placing their orders, and it would come to a spreadsheet, and then we start calling all the volunteer drivers, whoever was available to accept the order, pick it up, and go deliver it. So as demand began to grow, it was almost impossible to operate that way. So we then built out our tech team and develop our mobile app that automates the process. And then we've kind of moved away from the volunteer side of it to more of now paid caregivers that are picking up now and helping deliver medications to people. So it all started, especially starting Pills to me was more of like a need that I saw in while working at the pharmacy and also being a student at the time. And so that's how we started.
So that's really interesting. For a lot of founders and entrepreneurs, the bizarre time during the height of the pandemic was when folks saw a lot of cracks in various systems and said, oh, we need to put this in place, or, this would be something that would benefit people during this time. And I'm curious about your thoughts of, do you think, were it not for, the pandemic, that you would have still started this business?
Well, no, I would have started a business for sure, but not this specific one because it wasn't something I was actively thinking about. It just came in by accident, just seeing that need and just starting to help. We were just it was just a free service. Even when we started it, I didn't even think we were gonna build it out into a full-fledged startup as it is right now. So it was as we were operating and helping these people, public health students, young, Yale students, volunteering, trying to help. And then we saw that we dug more into the whole problem and we saw that it was deeper. It's something that dated pre-pandemic. The pandemic, like a lot of other problems, kind of just highlighted it at the time. So yeah, so I don't think, to answer your questions, yes, I know I would have started the business, but not that the particular appeals to me as it is today.
Yes, very interesting. And that's a through line of a lot of founders who started things in like 2020. So very cool. Leslie, how can people learn more about you and your business?
Yeah, so you can find us on our website, pills2me.com, PILLS, the number 2, me.com, or I'm on LinkedIn, Leslie Asanga, or Pills to Me as well, and Instagram as well. So, yeah.
All right. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And for our final founder origin story of the day, or of this session, we have some more later. We have Clarence. Why don't you tell us about why you are, or how, and let's start that over. Why don't you tell the people your origin story?
So my mother and dad fell in love. No, actually, I can't really start my origin story without talking about my father, though, because when I was about 5 or 6 years old, he was between jobs, and we were sitting on the porch in the evening. I'm not sure why he decided to have this conversation with a 5-year-old. I guess he was just thinking out loud. But he explained to me the way that he would explain to a 5-year-old that he needed a job to make money, to pay for things, and that he could either ask somebody else for permission to make money, or that he could make his own job. That was kind of his way of explaining to a 5-year-old starting your own business. And, your father's your superhero, right? It didn't make sense to my 5-year-old brain why my father would ask somebody else for permission to earn a living. So it seemed very obvious to me at that point. And he did. He started his own business. It was a boutique SAT prep business that he ran out of our home. And he actually ran that business for 40 years until he recently retired. So through seeing him not only build that small business, but also he always was a big believer and taught us the importance of personal freedom. Sometimes he would make a lot of money and sometimes he wouldn't, but he always had personal freedom, right? If he wanted to take us to the beach, he could cancel his appointments and do that, right? He was always home and around us. So that is one of the things I think that kind of is in my fabric. But then I've also always been interested in building things and solving problems, solving puzzles, right? And if you want a good business, find a good problem, right? So I started my career in IT, in computers. I was a business analyst, which is a fancy way of saying a geek translator. So I was a consultant. I would be sent to law firms, television networks, etc., to basically coordinate between the executives of the business and the IT team that would be implementing whatever it was that we were implementing to streamline different business processes, right? So I learned a lot about how to apply my problem-solving skills and understand what business leaders need and what technology can do to facilitate those needs. So I kind of was able to translate that into what I do now, which is build solutions for small businesses. Because the things that enterprises are doing today are what the rest of us can be doing tomorrow. So for example, my last startup was an online ordering platform. I started that back in 2010 when brands like Domino's and Pizza Hut, what have you, you could go to their website and order online, but Mario's Pizza down the street didn't necessarily have that yet. So I built that for all of the Marios of the world, right? And through that experience and selling that company and becoming an executive in charge of product at the world's largest payment company, I learned that our small businesses have a challenge when it comes to getting new customers or doing more business with their existing customers, and they don't. Digital marketing is extremely complicated. It's time consuming. Agencies are very expensive, and I was able to learn the strategies and technologies that enterprises like Best Buy and Walmart and Target were employing. So that's how I ended up building Otis. Again, taking those enterprise learnings and making a solution for the rest of us, right? One of the rewards about my career as an entrepreneur is that I've been able to work with and meet a lot of amazing people, whether it's business owners or people who have worked for me, and watch them grow in their own careers. So obviously, the personal freedom, personal and financial freedom part of it is huge, but it's also very rewarding to be able to provide a valuable service and opportunities to people who deserve them.
So I'm very interested in, you said you took enterprise learnings and then applied them to your own entrepreneurship journey. You helped to develop solutions for other small businesses. And so, we hear all the time this sort of debate about going to work for, someone else, just going into starting your own business. And it sounds like perhaps there's a little bit of like cross-pollination in your story where going to work in corporate land has helped you in your entrepreneurship journey. Would you say that's accurate?
Sure, yes. I learned a lot from it, but I think that the most valuable thing that any of us have is our time. And the definition of working for somebody else is selling your time to that person to achieve their goals, right? And they're never going to pay you what you're doing for them because they're in business to make a profit, right? So I think that, obviously, Calvin, if you became a professional athlete and made $50 million in the NFL, then your time is worth selling, right? But most of us are not going to do that. So I think if there's something that you're passionate about and you can leverage your own time to pursue your own dreams, then that makes you an entrepreneur.
Thank you for keeping it real with us, Clarence. That's real. That's real stuff. So how can folks find out more about you and about your company?
Sure. So first of all, we are an amazing AI-driven digital marketing platform. So if you have a business and you would like to have it grow, check out meetotis.com. We also have chat there. Somebody usually answers it, so you can ask for me there. And Twitter, Otis_AI on Twitter. And I am on LinkedIn. You can Google or search Clarence Williams Otis on LinkedIn.
Nice. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And thank you once again to everyone. As you've heard, the diversity of interests and experiences of our founders is what really makes this community exciting and amazing. But also there were so many similarities between our founders' journeys. And I'm sure for some of you all listening, I know certainly for me, there were similarities between their journeys and your journey. And that, to like bring this all back full circle, is what bridging that relationship gap is all about. It's thinking about in your personal Rolodex, in your life, if you heard any of these founder stories today and said, oh, I need to put them in contact with this person who I know is looking for some AI marketing solutions, or I know someone who should really get their creator economy journey together. They're making great content, but I don't know what they're doing. Like, y'all know these people now. And it takes minutes, 2-3 minutes to send an email, to send a Slack message, to send a LinkedIn message to someone that could potentially be the next step in helping a founder's company and making a connection. And that is what we are all about here at Goodie Nation. So I hope that you have enjoyed this amazing episode of Prequel, Origin Stories and Inflection Points. Reach out to all these founders, go buy stuff and support their services. And as our founder, Joey Womack, always says, stay magnetic and outwork yesterday. Take it easy, y'all.